Today we are making a stewed sauerkraut with Polish Kielbasa. So I'm going to start by browning 14 ounces of Polish Kielbasa. You could also use bacon, hot dogs, you could do a pork chop, or you can totally make this vegetarian. You could use some smoked paprika if you wanted that smoky flavor, but I'm going to go with the kielbasa today, so I'm just going to put it in my Dutch oven with some oil. I have about a quarter cup of oil in there. I'm going to brown it up and take it out, and then I'll show you the next step. So the kielbasa is nice and browned, and I've taken it out. And now in this same oil, it's still hot, I'm going to caramelize some onions that I've chopped up. I have 1.5 large onions here. You can do more or less to your liking. And I'm going to lower the flame and let it cook until it gets nice and brown. So once your onions have this light brown color, you're going to add some shredded carrots. And I have about 1.5 cups of shredded carrots. But again, you can use more or less to your liking. And I'm just going to cook them for a little bit until they get soft, and then I'll show you the next step. So our carrots have softened, and I'm going to add my shredded fresh cabbage. I like to do a mix of sauerkraut and fresh cabbage. And I'm using a whole head, but for the proportion of kielbasa that I used, I would probably suggest half a head. I prefer to have more cabbage than meat, so it's up to you, but you could certainly use the same amount of onion and carrot for half of the amount of cabbage and sauerkraut that I'm going to use, and it will still taste good. So I'm going to give this a stir and cover it up and let it cook for a little bit. As you can see, the cabbage really shrinks, and you want to cook it under the cover until the point where you see that the liquid is all gone, and you don't want it to start browning. So I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. And now I'm going to add my sauerkraut. I have 2 pounds of it here. I use the kind that's in the bag. I use this brand, but it doesn't have to be this brand. I've never done it with the canned sauerkraut, so I can't vouch for how that will taste. It'll probably work. I did drain the sauerkraut. I squeezed out all of the liquid from it. Now I'm going to stir this together, and then I'm going to throw my kielbasa back in, and I'll show you the next step. So I've stirred it all together and put my kielbasa back in, and now I'm going to add some ketchup. I'm going to start with about 1/2 cup, but I think I'm going to use a whole cup in here. You don't want it to taste just like ketchup, but you do want that kind of sweet and sour flavor going through it. I'm just going to recommend that you do it to your taste. I'm going to stir this in and see if I need to add more. It's been about 5 minutes, and you can see that the cabbage has let out a lot of juices, and I've decided to add a little bit of salt, some black pepper, and 3 dry bay leaves. I'm going to fish the bay leaves out at the end. I'm going to cover this up, well, mix it, cover it up, and let it keep cooking. Okay, so it's been a total of 30 minutes, and my dish is finished. I just wanted to mention that I haven't made this in a while, so I did use 2 pounds of the sauerkraut to 1 head of cabbage, but if I was making it again, and when you make it, I recommend that you use 1 pound of sauerkraut to a whole head of cabbage, because mine tasted a little bit too sour for my liking. I ended up fixing it with a little bit of brown sugar, and it tastes fine now. What I'm going to do is cover it and let it sit for a little while. I find that this dish tastes better the longer it sits. The flavors kind of marry, and it tastes better when it's not piping hot. And I love to serve this with some mashed potatoes. I also wanted to add that you can add some fresh herbs at the very end. You could use some dill or parsley, any herbs to your taste. I'm not going to add any fresh herbs to this. I prefer not to, but if you like that, you certainly can do it at this point. Here it is, guys, our finished product. I hope you enjoy.